35. Currently, it's 30 and clear. I'm Sarah Silver on the Talk of the Town, WRMN.
A KFC tale in the pursuit of flavor. The greatest insult the Colonel ever suffered was being served a wrap that was just a snack by a friend. So he took 2 crispy tenders, lettuce, tomatoes, and pepper mayo, and wrapped them in a soft tortilla. It wasn't a snack, it was a meal. He called it a twister, and never called that friend again. The Colonel lived, so we could chicken. The Twister, now back at KFC, classic or with bacon. Also try it spicy. It's finger-licking good.
Prices and participation may vary.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 9 o'clock.
The Elgin Police Department is dedicated to working in partnership with the community to promote safety and enhance the quality of life by serving with professionalism, encouraging open communication, and embracing diversity.
Engaged.
Partnering with our citizens and involved in our community.
Progressive.
Embracing innovative strategies while maintaining proven practices.
Dedicated.
Serving with integrity and professionalism. Elgin became an incorporated city in 1854 and installed its first police marshal, George W. Renwick. Over the years, the title of the head law enforcement officer changed from marshal to chief. And although the role has expanded, one duty has remained consistent: to ensure law and order for the citizens of Elgin.
It's time now for Fridays with the Finest, featuring Elgin's current police chief, Anna Lally, on Elgin's hometown radio station since 1949, WRMN AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
Hey, good morning, everybody. We are here at WRMN 1410 with Fridays with the Finest. Chief Anna Lally, and boy, oh boy, is this studio filled. I'm going to have her flip on right now. Chief, I'll let you do all the introductions of who we got in the room today.
All right. So if you're watching on YouTube here, you don't see me. Well, here. Now you see me a little bit here. You just see my badge. So I am here, but you know what? Well, you guys can take a look at these lovely people next to me. Good morning, everyone. We are here today to talk everything cold case. So it's been a while since Matt and Andrew and Chris have been here, and we have a new member of the cold case unit, so Detective Beth Steriker. So she is here today to introduce herself and have the community, see kind of who the unit is, the group is, what we've been doing, where we're going, some things that we're really excited for this year. As the listeners might recall, we launched our podcast in 2025. Really kind of focusing on the Karen Sheepers case in April. So it's going to be almost a year, and it went by quick. We obviously were able to locate her and close that case. And so, season 2 was everything in the 70s in Elgin, and, they're still working those cases diligently. And so we're getting ready to launch season 3. So it's kind of, let's talk about season 3, talk a little bit about where we're at, and then talk about some upcoming things that we want to do. When we created the cold case unit in late 2024, the goal is to have this unit, and eventually the goal is to never have this unit. So, in 10 years from now, 5 years from now, there should be no more cold case unit at the Elgin Police Department. That's the goal, is to solve these cases, to have a resolve to, for families to be able to have a sense of peace. But they're diligently working. There's a lot of cases, and so they're here today. So we're just going to go down the line. Many of you will know Andrew and Matt, obviously from season 1 podcast, and then Chris from season 2. But the newest member of the cold case unit, Detective Beth Steriker. So Beth, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us everything about you, favorite color, favorite food, everything.
Good morning. My name is Beth Steriker. I have been with the Elgin Police Department 20 years now, as of last month. I started off on afternoon shift. And then I went to our drug unit. I was there for almost 10 years, and then I most recently was in a position of the school resource officer at Elgin High School. So I just joined the cold case unit about a month ago.
Yeah. So she was a school resource officer at Elgin High, did a phenomenal job. very different what she does now, right? Because that's a go, and this is a little bit more analytical and more, taking a little bit of time to kind of process instead of just handling things day to day. So, welcome, Beth, Chris.
Yes, if you recall, I was I'm entering my 10 years right now in Elgin PD. I did 8.5 years on patrol, and then I think I'm coming up on 2 years up in investigations, but just 1 year in cold case, and I'm loving every second of it. It's basically a dream job. I
Yeah,
never take
it
for
is.
granted, and it's,
I'd like your job. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
You want to switch for a day? Okay.
Chief for a day. That should be
Chief
the
for
next,
a
that should be
day.
the next
Oh
initiative.
man! But then I come back. I come back the next day, and I'll be like, "What'd he do? Hold on." Yes. All right, Andrew.
My name's Andrew Houghton. I've been a police officer for, it'll be 19 years now, and I've been up in investigations here about 12 years. So I started with Matt in the cold case unit 2 years ago, well, about 2 years ago now, almost 2 years.
Yeah, and I'm Matt Vartanian. I was with Andrew on season 1. Last June, I was promoted to sergeant, and I was assigned to the night shift, so I spent some time on nights as one of the frontline supervisors. And then I came back up to the Major Investigations Division in November. And now one of my responsibilities is to actually oversee the cold case unit. So kind of back with the band again, which is really cool. So
Yeah.
it's exciting.
So, when 2024 we created the cold case unit, 2025 is just Matt and Andrew. Late 25 we add Chris to the mix, and then obviously at the beginning of the year Beth. And so, the success that we had with the first case, regardless if we had that success, you still need to put resources towards that unit in order for it to work. So we're slowly building that unit. Slowly creating a new space for them to work. Putting a lot of money into it, which is it's necessary, time, effort, training, money, because the ultimate goal is to solve cases. So let's talk a little bit about, where we're at with season 2. I know you guys wrapped it up a couple months ago. Where are we at with season 2? And then what are we looking forward into season 3?
Yeah, so season 2 was 6 different cases from the 70s. It was Guadalupe Alanis in 71. It was Maynard Holly in 75. It was Barbara Glukert and Lori Bolger in 76. It was Casey Kyles in 77, and it was Renee Tovar in 79. We are working on some of those cases still. We're actively working with Mount Prospect on Barbara Glukert's case. We're actually meeting with them again next week. So we're doing some stuff with that case with them because we believe she's somewhere here in Kane County. And then we are working on Lori Bolger's case pretty actively, and we're working on Renee Tovar's case pretty actively right now, in addition to a couple other cases that are from the 90s. And then the other cases from the 70s, we still are accepting tips on those cases. There's some things we're doing with those, but they're not as much forensics with those cases as there are with Lori's case and Renee's case.
So let's talk a little bit about Beth. You come into first of all, why did you want to come into the cold case unit? And as you kind of walk into, a case being solved, national attention, Chris, you came in on the tail of that a little bit, right? So you kind of were like, wow, okay, all right, what's going on here, right? And here you come, Beth. Why did you want to go into the cold case, and what are you excited about? Like, what is your motivation and purpose for wanting to do that?
Well, I think coming off from the position I was in at schools, I really enjoyed my time there, but it was time to make a move and do something different. And I had told Matt and Andrew when the podcast came out, I was big. I do like my true crime.
You were a
podcast.
fan?
Big fan with Dateline Fan 2020, all that. And I was listening, and I was like, oh my God, you guys, this is so exciting. Like, I'm so excited for you guys. I hope they find her. I hope this is a successful resolution. You guys can bring closure. And like Chief, when I went to talk to you about it, I think this is a different part of the policing where you can really I can't imagine again being a parent and having a child go missing or a person go missing or something and it's unsolved. All these years later, finally getting some resolution is incredible. So I think this is a different way to serve, and it's so exciting. All the new, science that's involved now that you can probably get some closure to some of these cases, and I think it's incredible. So I'm really excited to be part of that next chapter.
And I think you have to get the right people. So we talked about when we created the cold case unit, Matt and Andrew were the right people. And then Chris comes along. He's the right person. Now Beth comes along. And even by that very short answer, and she's been in the unit for like a month, okay.
Right around there.
Oh, my time is all messed up. You're right. it's just the passion that you could tell that she has for it, right? When Chris says it's a dream job, this is why I became a police officer, right? I love like the investigative side to things, figuring things out. If I wasn't a police chief, I would do this. Like, but we didn't have a cold case unit when I started, and eventually, at midpoints in my career. So really excited for the four of them, and just phenomenal job of, especially with the podcast.
You know what, Chief, though, you have to be honest and fair to yourself, too. And not just because you got that nice visionary award, we know you did, but you do have that vision. You know how to select the team, and that's a gift. I mean, law enforcement, I know a lot of times getting other departments to, share information is difficult. And I hear you saying you're working with Mount Prospect. Are you seeing, because you were the pioneer for this cold case, you're still the sixth largest city in the state of Illinois, but you came up with a cold case division. Are you getting other towns that say, hey, maybe we should do the same thing, and they're starting to share?
Yeah, and that's one thing that, we're going to be working on this year. I talked with Andrew and Matt about doing a symposium. So we're going to be hosting a symposium this year. One day, invite a lot of different agencies and really, talk about it. How do you create a cold case from the administrative side, right? Being a police chief in an organization. Then how do you do the work from the detectives, and then the partnerships with the crime labs and with, very unique outside community partners, Chaos Divers. That was, a group that, they've been doing phenomenal, taking off, and they've got a lot of stuff. And, so the byproduct of doing some really good work is all that good stuff, right? Whether it's Matt and Andrew being nominated for, the best detectives, or the awards that we get. That's the stuff that just comes from just being dedicated and being really, purposeful in what we're doing. You don't create units to get awards and to have people give you accolades. That's not what you do. But going back to your first thing, picking the right people. So 99.999% of the time, I usually get it right. And then there's sometimes 0.0001% of the time where I'm like, man, maybe this person's not who they are showing me to be, right? So, but these four are absolutely phenomenal. Even, Beth coming and talking to me even before the position opened up, and I could feel her passion for, what she wanted to do. And you need smart people first, and you need people who are dedicated, and you need people who don't cut corners. So let's talk about season 3. What do we have to look forward to? When are we launching the podcast? What's everything season 3?
So we have a bonus episode that's going to come out probably in the next week or so, and then we're looking at mid-March for our 3rd season. We'll kind of talk in the bonus episode about some missing people that are on our caseload, because we have several other missing people that are cold cases. But we decided we would try to go back to our first season's format and do a single case, like episodically. And so there's a case from 1982, a woman named Whiteria Jones, who was right across the street here from the station, basically, living at a hotel. And she disappeared in either late September or early October of 82. So we're going to kind of walk through that case. We've been trying to reach out and locate family. Some of her family is spread all over the country. And again, it's like a 40-something-year-old case, so tracking people down has been a little bit difficult. But we're hoping that using the podcast will help us generate community interest in her case, and then also get some tips of people that maybe knew her when she was living here in Elgin. She was getting some services here in Elgin. We're trying to track down people that knew her, and we're hoping that's a good way for us to do that.
So what is so we anticipate another 6 episodes or 7 for that season?
Yeah, I think we were kind of looking last night. We were right around 6 probably, just like forecasting it out. It may be 7 or 8 now. So we're hoping it'll be something like that. Obviously, anything can happen, like in the first season, where we had kind of a structure of what we thought we were going to do, and then it completely got turned on its head when Chaos Divers gave us a different date that they could come, and we shuffled everything around, and then we found something, and then that kind of sent us in a totally different direction. So we can cross our fingers and hope that something like that happens in this case too. But I think we're hoping on probably 6, 7, 8 episodes at least, and then we'll kind of see where we're at.
And that speaks to what you said, Chief, how you think it's going to go a certain way, and all of a sudden you got this new tip. Now it changes that investigative piece that you're
and I think that's the podcast is just that's the link to the community. That's the link to even Beth. She's a police officer. She works at the Elgin Police Department. She can go talk to these guys, but even she's fanning on. She's like, listen. So, but I think that's great. That was just something that we didn't expect to really, we get a lot of people asking us about that and why we do it and how we do it. And we want to thank WRMN and for our partnership with you guys that, you help us with the technical side of doing the podcast. So it just works. I mean, when you get the right people with the right, kind of purpose of what we want to do here, and you put that together, and you just, I come and ask them how their cases are going. What do they need from me? Throwing out some, hey, why don't we do this? And they receive it much better now than they did season 1. But so you guys tell me, what is it like and we'll go down the line here. So Beth, you're here a month. Chris, you're here about a year, right? And then you guys were, the people that started it. So let's go at like a day in the life of Detective Beth Steriker in the cold case unit. What's it like? So people I'm a young person and I want to be a police officer. And I want to go into cold cases. Share what's it like, a life in the day in the life, and cut out the coffee times, the lunchtime,
Right.
the whatever else is going on in MID. Yeah.
Like yesterday specifically, Chris had some evidence he wanted to look at from an old case, and so we went down to the evidence room and they'd already pulled it. But to me, it's fascinating to see, okay, this case was 90.
It was 92.
92, and they packaged, like, surprisingly enough, right, they did a really good job packaging this stuff up. Obviously over time stuff disintegrates, and he repackaged some stuff, and a lot of the evidence is in really good shape. And like, even when we talked about some of those old cases from the 70s, we had talked, my dad retired from Elgin a long time ago, but his name came up on one of these old cases. So when he came in for the holidays, he came to the station to talk to them, and I was surprised. I mean, his memory, I could tell him something today and he won't remember it tomorrow. It seems like that's not important, but like, he was going back to this old case and could talk about, well, I thought it was this guy and this. Like, even when I called him one day, I'm like, hey, do you remember this? He's like, oh, yeah. Just started rattling off all this stuff, and a couple of the other guys who had worked on it.
How cool is that?
It just, their memory was just crazy.
But how cool is that
specific.
that's your dad, right?
Yeah.
That you get to do that,
It was
right?
really, it was pretty incredible. I'm pretty fortunate in that. And even like, I texted him yesterday. I'm like, do you remember where the bus station was in 1982? He's like, yeah, it was blah, blah, blah. But even I was just really impressed too with the work, because DNA didn't exist in the 70s, right? And I was very impressed that all the evidence they collected back then was pretty remarkable, considering they didn't know what was going to come of things, and they didn't know that some of this stuff would go.
Now,
on.
when you were in the academy, they said keep copious notes. Now you know what that was.
He did a ride along with me when
Yeah.
I first got hired, and we went on a call, and he's like, "You gonna take a report on that?" I'm like, "No, this doesn't need a report."
You're like,
we
"Get out."
cleared it. I'm like, "Stop."
I'm going to drop you off at the
Yeah,
station. I've had enough.
We get coffee. I'll pick
That's
up.
enough. I had enough.
Like an hour later, they called me into the front desk because the people came in, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna take a report?"
Yeah,
And I was
you're like,
"I
yeah,
sure
you
am,
need to
Dad."
go home. Never again. Yeah.
But he was right. I mean, like, he was 100% right. He usually is. So. Yeah, but it was just, no day is like, this is what we do Mondays. This is what we do Tuesdays. And again, I've only been in here for a short time, but there's always something different going on, and it's just exciting to me.
Chris, day in the life.
Yeah, Beth kind of
Sorry,
some.
stole your soul.
No,
Yeah,
you
no,
know, yeah,
just
stole my
a
thunder.
normal day in the
no,
life.
I was about to say no 2 days are the same up in cold case. Like, one day you could be sifting through files that no one has seen in 50 years, and the next day Andrew and I can be driving halfway across the state to interview somebody that hasn't been spoken to in 50 years. It's just that's kind of the way you have to pivot and be flexible, and we all are open to that always, and that's the exciting allure to it. It's like, tomorrow we're going to do this, tomorrow we're going to do that, and it's like, okay, we're going to go with the flow. And I think part about what I was saying with the dream job, it's not lost on me that we have a huge undertaking, and it's an honor to try to move the goalpost further for these cases, because up until now they've been stagnant, they've been cold. That's hence why it's called the cold case. But it's a real honor to see that our endeavors are not lost and that they are pushing it forward. And now that we are getting some momentum on some of these cases, we're pushing these cases as far as they've come to this point, and we're still not done with them. So that's the motivation that I get when I come in and I see like the work is actually paying off, and that we're inching closer, and yeah, basically it's there's nothing like it that I've experienced at the Elgin Police Department to date while being in this unit, and that's why I love it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Chris's day-to-day too has been, especially our two cases from the 90s. It was two different women that were murdered, and their kids were in the apartments when they were killed. And Chris has been dealing with the families, so he's been talking with the son of one of our victims and the daughter of one of our other victims, and one's in Colorado and one's in like Florida. So it's we try on a semi-regular basis to keep them updated on what we're doing. So like if we're submitting something to the lab or we're going to interview somebody, like Chris is calling and talking to them, or they're calling and texting him to see kind of where we're at. My day-to-day, kind of like Chris said, it's kind of all over the place. I mean, yesterday there's a guy we're trying to talk to from a 90s case that's down in Alabama. So we're trying to figure out exactly where he is. We reached out to the agency down there. They're going to send a deputy out to try to make contact with him so we can speak with him. We will probably have to travel down and visit him. He's just a witness in the case, but we need DNA from different witnesses because maybe they were in the crime scene or they manipulated something in the crime scene or something like that. And then I spent probably 4 to 5 hours making a family tree because we're working on getting DNA specific for this case with Whiteria, but we need very specific DNA. It has to be on a maternal line. So different organizations we use need nuclear DNA or mitochondrial DNA, and we have to figure out who has that type of DNA and where can we find them. So it's literally sitting and going through old records, trying to figure out, okay, are her sisters still alive? Are her kids still alive? Are her kids daughters? If they're daughters, do they have kids? And so you're literally at a computer or at a desk going through old records like that. So it can be on the phone and then at a desk, and then like Chris said, 2 weeks ago, we drove 6 hours away to go interview somebody. So it just kind of changes every day. I mean, we have a calendar up of we meet every Monday now. So we know where we're at and who's working what hours and what we have going on because we're kind of getting busier as we add more people and add more cases. So it's been really exciting. I mean, I think that once we move over to our new office space too, it's going to be we're hitting the ground running. So it's been really great having Matt back up here and then also Beth kind of coming on board. So.
And now, Matt, you're now the sergeant, right? One of 2 sergeants in our investigations division. So obviously, we have cases that come through everything, your day-to-day stuff and some significant cases. So, but, generally there is time to focus on the cold case, right?
Yeah,
and so
right.
kind of, this is, I would say probably more your passion than retail thefts. So talk a little bit now, obviously stepping into the role of a sergeant, right? Which is, a whole bunch of stuff to learn. And, Matt was only on patrol for what was it, 2 months?
3 or 4, right? Yeah.
I think that's the shortest time. So I was like, all right, you need to move, time to go. And part of that is because it's the right people again, right? You can't waste people's, in my opinion, you can't waste people's talents because they need to get quote unquote experience. Experience comes in very different levels, right? And so, you have a person that worked with Andrew who understands kind of how a cold case works to a very high level. That is a great mentor for, and Andrew, the 2 of them are great mentors to Chris and Beth. That's what you need. You need people who, you can't give someone mentorship if you've never done the thing that you're trying to teach them or talk to them about. You can give them advice. Everybody has advice, but you can't give mentorship. So, I think that's part of a huge role. But for you, how has it changed a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, I love people. So becoming a sergeant is so empowering because you are able to take care of people in a different manner. So for me, the word that comes to mind is just with intention or purposeful. You have to be intentional with your actions and what you're doing, and being able to come back up in the unit in the short time that I did, that's very important to me, and I don't take that for granted because there's a reason for it. And the things that we have that are coming up with the cold case unit, just the expansion of adding more people and getting a private workspace. There's other cases and families that deserve answers. So that's the intentionality I think that we have. We're all very organized people. The weekly meetings that we have, I think, are very important because then we all know we're on the same page. You can't just guess, right? You can't just say, they maybe have this going on. You have to know what's going on, and you really have to focus on those things. So for me, being able to step into a different role. A lot of it is some administrative stuff. So stuff that was, that we would deal with before with travel and other things and conferences and whatever else we had to do. I'm trying to take those over and get those off their plate because they don't really need to deal with that. That's the role that I have. Andrew and I got to present last week for a law enforcement group that was all evidence and property custodians. And it was the first time that we actually got to give a full overview of the Karen Sheepers case. And it was well received, and it was chilling, I think is the word that I described, because even though it was, still about a year ago, we kind of relived that case again and just the details that we have. And you see certain pictures and images and conversations that we have and things like that. So it was really powerful. So like that type of feeling is something that we want to pass on to them with the cases that no doubt they'll probably end up solving down the road. But the detail is very important. It's just taking care of your people.
Yeah. So, as we move into, we have about 5 minutes left here. So as we move into season 3, obviously we have that bonus episode, which will launch.
We're hoping like maybe next Monday.
Next Monday?
Or in the next week or so.
Okay. And then episode 1 of season 3.
I think we're looking at March 23rd. It's a
Okay.
Monday. We've been doing Mondays has been kind of our time. So we're going to be recording, I think Chris and I are going to record our first episode today.
Okay.
So we'll hopefully get it edited and everything kind of the ball rolling. And then we'll do bi-weekly like we did with the last 2 seasons, unless something pops up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we expect to have you on the station again? Question and answer. Was that helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
We're happy with
Yeah.
whatever the chief
We'll
is.
slot
Yeah.
some
Oh,
in.
yeah. I wanted them because obviously with season 3, kind of starting here, and then with Beth coming into the unit, I want people to get to know Beth, and so that they see the unit, they know who the detectives are, and then I just check in with them when they need me, and hey, I need you on the show. How's it going? What do you need from me? And let me know when you solve the case. Right? Like that's it. What do you need from me? And do your thing, because they're just I think that's also part of it is I can't stress enough when you find the right people, you give them the resources, you give them the tools, you empower them, and you just say, go, do your thing. I would love to sit in a room with these guys and dissect the case. I don't have time for that. There's no time in my schedule. But it's truly, I think a great thing that, especially the podcast was received very well, so that's something that people ask me all the time. When's the podcast? I'm like, they're working on it. Like give these guys a minute. So, but as we, like I said, this year we also, we're going to work on this, this day of just learning and, having Matt and Andrew talk about the Karen Sheepers case. And we're going to invite area police departments, administrators, police chiefs, because you can't, you can start a cold case. You can maybe want to as a detective, but if your police chief says, no, we don't have the money, we don't have the resources, then you can't. I mean, it's as simple as that, and even when I was a sergeant in major investigations, I always wanted to do something with cold cases. And at the time the answer was no, because we didn't have the people, the resources. But now that, I'm the police chief, so yeah, let's go. Right. So that's great. But I think, doing that and sharing our knowledge, because I think it's also important if you do something and you get a lot of people who want to know the how, the why, you have to share your knowledge. You can't just keep it. You have to give it to people, and then they do whatever they want to do with it. So, but as we make our way here in the last minute, you guys want any last thoughts as we go down the line? We'll start with you, Matt. We'll work our way this way.
Yeah, just thankful for WRMN and the partnership that we have.
Thank you.
We're thankful for everybody that has listened to the podcast and supported us and supported the unit. We just hope that you can continue to tune in for some of the things that we have coming down the road.
Yeah, I echo the same thing. And hopefully this 3rd season is going to be something that we do generate more tips on. I think we've generated between 75 and 100 tips on either Karen Sheepers case or other area cases through the first 2 seasons. So we're hoping that kind of keeps up, especially with this case where Waiteria was living here in town for a brief period of time. We don't know a lot about her life here. So we're really hoping that people in the community remember who she is.
So how old would she be today?
She was 45 when she disappeared. She would turn 89 in May.
Okay.
So
yeah. So
it's
there are
possible
people
that she's still alive.
Yeah.
But it's also possible that she's not. And we just don't know that. We can't say 100% yet. But we're hoping that people either that were in her orbit here that knew her can give us some information about a lot of things that was going on in her life when she was here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and even if she was 89, the people that knew her, they're probably around that age, right? So time is ticking. I mean, that's the other thing with these cases. You got to hurry up because eventually people are not around. So, and then you're thinking, man, if we would have looked at this case a year ago or 10 years ago. So, okay, Chris.
Even with the 4 of us here, we cannot do this alone. So I'm thankful for you, Chief. I'm thankful for the administration.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thankful for WRMN. Thankful for the public support, just the backing that we have with the work. It's not lost on us, and we hear it and we see it, and we really appreciate it. And it's crazy to think we're only getting started. We're only scratching the surface of what our potential is. So see what's coming.
And Beth?
I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be part of the unit, and I'm really excited to get into it, basically, and see what happens.
You're going to do well. Chris, you brought up, if I don't mind, you said, "Oh, it's like a century ago." You know what? It's a half a cent. 1976. That's 50 years ago. You realize we got the museum that plays every 100 years ago in Elgin. Just think of the same thing. You're working on cases a half a century.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really
They weren't
amazing
even
when you
alive.
look at.
They
Yeah,
weren't
you
even
guys.
born.
Yeah, I mean,
Yesterday, we literally were at the Elgin History Museum.
I was on
getting
the fire
photographs
department in
and stuff, 'cause We're trying to
1976.
find old photos of some of these places
Wow.
from the 70s and 80s. So
Amazing.
It's been really nice working with a lot of the like local partners, like the Gilbourne Library and the Elgin History Museum and people like that as well. So
And you have to remember too, like even with what Beth had said earlier about the forensic aspect of it, you know, people never really understood what DNA was until the O.J. Simpson case, right? 1990, whatever that was, 495. You know, they introduced this DNA to a jury. People's heads are spinning. They have no clue what that is. Fast forward now, 30 plus years later, you know, everybody, if you ask somebody, can you tell me what Miranda warnings are? They can read it off. Do you know what DNA is? Because of CSI and all these shows. But there's that how it was in 1995. There's so many advances that we need to tap into. So
In what you were saying earlier, Andrew, is the intricacies. It's not just getting the DNA. You have to make sure it's the right bloodline.
yeah.
If it's a daughter, a granddaughter, son, and it's got to be on one side or the other, I don't even understand it. So I think it's pretty amazing that you have to go that deep into it, develop this tree in order to be able to
And I
come
think we have
close
the
to building
opportunity
it.
to help educate the public on how that works. So it's kind of a glimpse behind the curtain a little bit when we can explain things in our episodes about why we do things a certain way, what we need, and I think that's helpful for the public. I think they find that interesting.
Beautiful. Thank
all
you,
right, well,
folks.
thank you guys. Thank you for the
Thank
work
you.
that you do, and stay tuned for season 3 of Somebody Knows Something. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's Fridays with the Finest, Chief Anna Lally, and a wonderful crew, the Cold Case crew. We got Beth, Chris, Andrew, and Matt all here present in the studio. We'll catch you again. WRMN 1410.
Get ready for Around the House every Saturday night from 5 to 7 p.m. on WRMN AM 1410. If you're a homeowner or contractor looking to tackle those projects that feel a bit too big, this is the show for you. Join Eric along with his knowledgeable guests as they dive deep into everything from DIY renovations to creating a healthy home environment. We'll provide you with the tools and tips you need to complete your projects with confidence and ease. But it's not all work and no play. We believe in having fun. Our passion for home improvement shines through as we help you save time, money, and reduce the stress of DIY. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, don't miss Around the House. Tune in every Saturday night and let's tackle those home projects together.
What's the best way to get rid of a timeshare that you don't want? Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline. We're a group of attorneys that help customers legally exit their timeshares. It's an easy process. We guarantee results or you pay nothing. Exit your timeshare today. Call now.
800-890-5957. 800-890-5957. That's 800-890-5957.
The new novel, titled DUI Jury Trial, is the true story of two lawyers who defend a truck driver who is charged with DUI. If he's convicted, this truck driver faces a lifetime disqualification of his commercial driver's license, which would prevent him from ever driving a truck again. This 3-year legal battle culminates in a courtroom showdown, which involves the testimony of a DUI expert witness. This book, DUI Jury Trial, is now available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Children are the greatest joy and our best hope for a better future. Friends, they are the future. But did you know that millions of kids right here in our own backyard are facing hunger every day? Without healthy food, it's harder to grow, to thrive, to feel their best.
The impact when children don't have enough to eat is tremendous because when you're hungry and your basic needs aren't being met, you cannot learn.
Every child deserves to be fed. This is a problem we know how to solve. Food is not just food. It's energy, health, confidence, hope, and even love. Yes, love.
Breakfast in the classroom contributes to kids being more focused, which leads to higher grades, and simply just their well-being.
Thank you!
Learn more about how No Kid Hungry is helping end child hunger in America at helpnokidhungry.org.
Hi, everybody, and happy Friday. I hope everyone had a good week out there. Steve Thorne here with another Community Spotlight Show. And oh, are we in for a nice day of weather today? Oh, boy. I've seen numerous forecasts, but all of them are 60 or above. The Daily Herald today said 62 degrees. So I heard Susie C. this morning say, from about 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock this afternoon, open your windows. Well, I know that that's spring fever talking there. It might be a little chilly to do that. I know that our thermostat set at 60, so if we open the windows, granted, it feels good and we get some fresh air in, but I know pretty soon then the furnace will kick on. Well, briefly, while Matt is attending the Elgin Police doing a little podcast setup in the other room, I am joined by the big cheese here, Dino.
No cheese. How you doing, Steve? Thanks for letting me pitch it over here.
Oh, my goodness. Don't say thanks to me. Thank you for all you're doing. And as I mentioned at the memorial for George, you know, it's kind of neat history that George brought you to WRMN the first time ever as a representative of the Knights of Columbus.
Yeah, if you remember.
And that's, I think that was on the Tribute to the Troops show.
That was one of them. And we did some stuff with the Order Sons of Italy, a lot of different, over 20 years.
Sure. That's how it started.
Yeah, you were the one that I did some recording with you upstairs because you were making a lot of voiceovers and commercials.
Yes.
I said, wow, what's this room? You said, well, come on in. I'll show you how this works. And you did. And I was like, wow, is this amazing?
How about that?
It was really
Neat
cool.
history. And look where we are now.
Yeah, it's getting there. But Matt was setting up everybody. We apologize for the little delay. But, you know, the chief, they're kind of like on a tight schedule as well. And the cold case division was in here. And boy, oh boy, what they got lined up. They have a new individual, Beth, that joined them. And she's just going to do an outstanding job. Chris is relatively new. He's been around for about a year. And of course, our other two gentlemen are superstars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
well, kind of neat history here. I grew up. Beth Steriker's father grew up across the street from me.
Okay.
When I was from birth, basically. I mean, he's older than me, but I'd say he's probably 5-6 years older than me, maybe 7. And so the Steriker, the Steriker family her father is Terry. He's the oldest boy, and then was Tim, and then was Mike, and then they had a daughter, Diane. But the five Steriker kids grew up right across the street from our house. And
Yeah.
So
It was real interesting when Beth was talking. She was looking through, because she's handling the cold cases, and she's seen her father's name investigating different things and different cases. So she actually called him up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this was just down the block over here. I think they were talking about the train station or something like. I don't know what it was, but anyhow, he's like, his recall is just amazing." She says he can't remember tomorrow or yesterday what we talked about, but I talked about cases, and boom, he zeroed. He honed right in, and it is
pretty neat.
amazing. I'll tell you, it is.
Sure.
It's just being in firefighting and law enforcement. I could tell you just about every call I've ever been on. For some strange reason, you always have that recall.
Sure, certain things, they impact you more, and
They
that's
sure do.
why they kind of have a stronger memory bank hold or something of the like.
I agree.
I know that I was reading something about the history of your memory, and it said that people will say, "God, I just can't think of that right now. I forgot it." Well, you didn't really forget it. You just have misplaced it briefly in your memory bank.
Is that you're being kind to me then? Because I forget everything.
Sure, but it'll come to you at another time.
Yeah, right. At the time you're
So you
wondering,
didn't really
"Oh,
forget
that's what I
it.
was
You
thinking
just
about."
misplaced it temporarily.
That's good.
So it's kind of an interesting thing, until you start succumbing to Alzheimer's or dementia,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't retain. Then areas start getting erased.
In fact, you know what? You're making me do it now. I was at Order Sons of Italy, and that's what we were talking about. It was our Alzheimer's program because that was one of the biggest groups that we supported, on our fundraising. And we were doing the thing for Alzheimer's and Cooley's anemia.
Cool. And
Yeah, it was really slick.
I think it shows you that certain items of conversation, a word or concept that I might bring up, will spark a memory with you. That's very common with people that are joke tellers. I'll tell a joke to someone, and then my joke or something within it reminds them of one.
Yeah,
Then they'll say
trigger
one
something
back,
else. Mhm.
and then the one they say back reminds me of one. And then you get people at a party doing that, or three people, and the next thing you know, you've got entertainment for an hour.
And you know what it's like sitting in front of the microphone. You're interviewing somebody a lot of times, and that's why I've always got a pad next to me, because you're in the middle of talking and you get that idea. You just don't want to stop. You try to mark it down, and then you backtrack into it if you can. Because if I don't mark them down, that thought's gone.
I write stuff down
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
I do lists all the time at home. I get way more done then.
Yeah, it does.
Then I don't forget. I take lists with me to the store. Otherwise, how many times you go to the store to get one thing and you end up buying 7 things and forget to buy the one you want?
The main item that you went out for. Yeah, I do
happens
that.
all the
I do
time.
that pretty regular. You want to? I don't know if you want to go forward with what you're.
Sure, let's start out a
program
little
is?
bit.
Okay.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad you joined us today. And Dean's sitting in for Matt. As you know, I always like to start each week's show with a dedication, most often a memorial, but sometimes to a living person or persons, or even a place or an event. Well, today's dedication and concept or theme is going to be on something that's near and dear to Matt's heart. So we will do some other things in the show for now, and then wait for Matt to come in and join us, and then we'll start on that topic. Because that topic, as you know, all that's been on Matt's mind this whole week is the Elgin High School flea market.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason for that is Matt is, quote, a collector. There's a big difference between a collector and a hoarder. Now, people that don't collect, they don't get it. They simply don't get it. My wife and I are collectors.
And I've been there. What a collection you have.
Well, and that's just it. When we have people that come in to get a tour of our home that are collectors, they are in amazement and in appreciation and in awe, and they're embracing the atmosphere and the environment, and they're asking us about pieces. But if we get someone in who is not a collector, their first comments are, who does all this stuff? Why would you have this much of this?
Yeah.
What are you going to do with this someday? There's the difference in the mindset.
And the nicest thing I think that you do, you invite so many people over. You put your items on display, and I do the same thing at my house. Have you been?
I haven't.
You got to come. You got to come over. And I've tried doing the same thing because I've got such a collection of this, that, the other thing. But you know what? It's nice to see the expression on someone. I had one of those when I was a kid.
Oh, sure.
You know, and it's just, it's really something. And you are a great collector. And I wish my daughter's baby showers this weekend, I was scheduled to go with Matt. I totally forgot. You talk about memory. But I would have loved to gone to that flea market thing that they're having at the high school.
Sure. Well, speaking of collections, you know, we're so lucky in Elgin to have the Elgin History Museum. They offer so much. And last night, they, through an arrangement, they stayed open late for our Rotary Club. So the Rotary Club certainly gave them a donation, but then Liz stayed late, the director. Liz has been there 28 years. She stayed late, and she gave our Rotary Club a tour and went all around, and then pizza was delivered, and the Rotarians all had a great time. And now some of them are going to attend the annual Elgin History Museum Gala, which is in April, of which last year Dean promised me he would come to it this year. So I'll bring you the invitation, Dean. All right. Matt is back in the seat. And Matt, I had mentioned how I do my dedications. And I'm talking about flea markets because this is what got me going. You've been talking about it all week. You're excited.
Yes.
You, of course, always go to Kane County. You love Kane County. I love Kane County more in the old days than now because it used to be not only bigger, but way more antiques. And it has gravitated to so much crafts. But the generation of collectors and what people want is changed. It's notably changed. There used to be such a value in families that would pass down heirlooms that people couldn't wait to get. I want grandma's china. I want grandma's stemware. I want grandma's furniture. I want grandma's photo books. Now, I don't want any of that, Mom. I don't want that.
I just want the jewelry.
Yeah.
All the expensive stuff.
I only want the jewelry so I can sell it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's sad, but that's me. You know, it's my opinion.
Me too.
But so many times people forget that we all have our opinions, and our opinions are valuable, but they're valuable more to us than they are to anyone else.
Yes.
That's for sure. I have my opinions of certain things and the way things would work best, but it's because that's what I like. Just like music. Just like, for instance, a question that came up earlier today. What's the best fish fry in Elgin? Well, you know, you can't answer that question. The question is, what fish fry do you like the best and why? Because otherwise, the best, what is the best? The best is the best to you. Why? Because I like it. Why? Well, I don't know. You see what I mean? You know, how about giving a reason for why I like it the best? And I might think it's the best, but it's the best for me. And then you find out that someone else says, well, you know, I like the Eagles because they serve hush puppies, and that's my favorite part. And they're the only one that does it. Well, there's a reason. You see what I mean?
Yep.
Well, anyway, Matt loves flea markets. I love flea markets. So I thought I'd do a little history of not only flea markets, but the history of collecting.
Okay.
Collecting. Well, the first flea market, by the way, emerged in 1860 in Paris. That's the first known documented flea market where people organized a large area where a number of people came with their belongings to resell to other people at a lesser price or whatever price. And the first one known in the United States was 1873.
Okay.
1873, the emergence of flea markets, as they called them, in the United States. Of course, it's grown to commonplace. A flea market is a larger scale of an estate sale, a garage sale. How about neighborhood garage sales? Essentially, that's like a flea market because you go from door to door to door or garage to garage, driveway to driveway. And when they have that, you're seeing all sorts of people's belongings that they're now willing to part with.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought I would talk about the history of collecting as a hobby. The hobby of collecting involves seeking. It includes seeking, locating, acquiring, organizing, cataloging, displaying, storing, maintaining items that are of interest to an individual collector. Collections differ in a wide variety of respects, most obviously in the nature and scope of the objects contained, but also in purpose, presentation, and so forth. The range of possible subjects for a collection is practically unlimited, and collectors have realized a vast number of these possibilities in practice, although some are much more popular than others. In collections of manufactured items, the items may be antique or simply collectible. Antiques are collectible items classified as 100 years old or more, while other collections are arbitrarily recent. The word vintage describes relatively old collectibles that are not yet antiques. Collecting is a childhood hobby for some people, but for others, it's a lifelong pursuit or something started in adulthood. Collectors who began early in life often modify their goals when they get older. Some novice collectors start by purchasing items that appeal to them and then slowly work at learning how to build a collection, while others prefer to develop some background in the field before starting to buy items. The emergence of the internet is a global forum for different collectors, and it has resulted in many isolated enthusiasts finding each other. There are types of collections, values of collected items, psychological aspects, history, notable collectors, and difference in hoarding. So let's talk about types of collections. Here's some examples: stamps, albums, coins, nutcrackers, natural items like rocks, birds' eggs, butterflies, seashells. Some collectors are generalists with very broad criteria for inclusion, while others focus on a subtopic. For some collectors, the criterion for inclusion might not be the type of object, but some incidental property, such as the identity of its original owner. Some collectors are called completists or completionists. They aim to acquire all in a well-defined set. We had a friend, Matt, that collected things, and by golly, if he collected a certain item, for instance, and let's say there was 20 of them, and he had 19 of them, you would not believe what he would do to get that 20th one.
I bet.
I mean, it might be way overpriced, and it might be in Michigan on the weekend of a family party. But if that was his only option to go get it, that's what he would do. He had to have it.
That's something. People are committed.
Oh, you bet. That's it. Some collectors, sometimes it's by country. For some, monetary value is important, yet meaningless to others. After a collectible has been purchased, its retail price is no longer applying. Its value is linked to what is called secondary market. There's no secondary market if no one wants to buy it now. The value is whatever someone else will pay for it. Products often become more valuable with age. The term antique generally refers to items 100 years old or more, although some fields, such as cars, the definition is 25 years. Terms are also often used: primitive, Art Deco, Art Nouveau, Carnival, Depression glass, etc., which were everyday items but may now be collectible, for many have been destroyed or discarded and now they've become rare. Some notable collectors in our world: Barry Halper collects baseball memorabilia. Charles Wesley Powell collects orchids. Christopher Ross collects militaria. David France, football memorabilia. Demi Moore collects dolls.
Huh.
Thought you might want to know that.
Yeah,
How about that?
that's cool.
Geddy Lee of the group Rush collects bass guitars. Hans Sachs collects posters. James Allen collects antique photographs. J.P. Morgan collects gemstones. Well, he can afford it.
Yeah.
Kenneth collects historical documents. King George V collects stamps. Martin Hill collects cameras. And Tom Hanks collects typewriters.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Isn't
about
that
Tom Hanks.
interesting? Other examples of collectible items: advertising, brand names, books, periodicals, cards, clothing of many types, coins, ephemera, film, TV, memorabilia, music, nature, dishes, jewelry, specific materials, sports, toys, games, records, transportation, and other. Well, I know that you collect dolls and many other things. You collect old photographs too, I believe.
Well, I've stopped collecting the old photos unless it's family pictures.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of cool then, especially if you can do some genealogy and see what you can find.
Oh yes.
And
oh
then,
yes.
then post some too.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone else. What else are you collecting these days?
I have been trying to look for some more jewelry.
Okay.
Maybe making a little investment because of how powerful gold is now. But even just to wear it too, I like to wear the jewelry. You've seen me wore it before, just little
Sure.
stuff
And
like that.
see, to me, I kind of get the feeling that it's your value of collecting jewelry is more towards that you like it than the
Yes.
value.
Yeah.
And that's just what I mentioned earlier in my little talk there.
Mm-hmm.
So, to some, it's important. To others, it's meaningless. For you, the importance includes both, but it's more geared toward what you like. Because let me ask you this. You buy something and the value goes up. Hey, that's a neat feeling. But are you going to sell it? Probably
not. No, depending.
You didn't buy it to resell it.
Yeah.
You see what
right,
I mean?
Exactly.
So you didn't collect it for a monetary value gain to profit from at a later date.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought I would share a few of my collections, and I tried to go through this fast this morning. Antique cars and related auto memorabilia, antique lawnmowers, antique furniture, antique clocks, antique glassware, antique TVs, antique radios, antique phonographs, records, CDs, antique lamps, depression glass, mainly just green, family memorabilia, Elgin-related items, whether it was made in Elgin or called Elgin, golf items, especially vintage, antique appliances, antique telephones, antique Viewmasters, Werner's ginger ale items, pinup girls from the 40s and 50s, antique dolls from TV shows, and antique model cars. So there's just a few.
Yep.
And my wife collects some of those same things, but she collects a lot of ladies' compacts. Started with Elgin American, which was huge right here in Elgin. And then, of course, she is quite the collector of American Brilliant hand-cut crystal. And she writes for their national magazine publication, their Facebook group. She takes pictures of new finds, puts it on the internet, gets lots of answers. She also collects vintage purses, ladies' purses, and she collects some very neat glassware, and she collects mother of pearl items. Well, our show didn't go very long today. We're already out of time, but listeners, go out and support some of those non-for-profits that have fish fries, and please donate some pet food to the Elgin Township building. That pet drive food is very, very low in inventory. Thanks for listening, everybody. I wish you all a peach of a weekend. I'll see you at the Elgin Flea Market tomorrow. Take care.
Your hometown radio station since 1940.